Okay, so you're curious about steroids, huh? That's what we're diving into today, the world of anabolic steroids and all those performance-enhancing substances.
Yeah, it can be pretty confusing out there, right?
Right. And we've got this guide. It's called Layman's Guides, Episode 3.
It's a good one. Gets right to the point.
Exactly. It's all about steroid use, bodybuilding training, diet, the whole nine yards. And we thought, let's break this down for everyone, cut through the crap.
Yeah, no BS, just the facts and practical stuff.
Right. This guide really emphasizes safe and sensible use, and that's our focus today. So think of this as your shortcut to understanding this world without getting bogged down by all the technical jargon.
Absolutely.
So let's jump in, shall we? This guide starts off by asking why. Like, why would anyone even consider using steroids?
It's a fair question, right? What's the motivation?
Yeah, and it lays out a few key ones, like wanting to be the best, top of the game.
Right, striving for that peak performance.
Building serious muscle mass, improving the quality of that muscle, dropping body fat, getting that shredded look.
Oh, yeah, the aesthetics are a big driver for some.
And then there's, wanting to improve specific areas.
Yeah, targeting those weak points. We all have them.
Boosting confidence, feeling that pride of achievement. And let's be honest, who hasn't felt impatient waiting for results?
Uh-huh. We all want that instant gratification.
But here's the interesting thing. Even though the guide acknowledges all these desires, the drive to excel, the appeal of those fast gains, that impatience, it actually strongly recommends that you exhaust all your natural options first.
It makes sense. You got to build a solid foundation.
Yeah, dial in your diet, experiment with training, adjust your cardio, really focus on those lagging areas, put in the work.
Absolutely. It's about understanding your body's natural potential.
Exactly. The guide calls it building a firm, strong foundation through natural training. It's about knowing your limits, seeing what you can achieve without any external help. And then, if you do decide to go down the steroid route, you'll have a baseline to compare against
Right. You'll know what works for you and what doesn't.
and how your body might react. Now, this brings us to what the guide calls OT cycles.
OTT, over the top.
Yep. And the author's pretty upfront about the potential problems, especially for beginners who are just starting out.
It's like diving into the deep end without knowing how to swim.
Exactly. So what are these OTT cycles? Well, they basically involve really high dosages.
Pushing it to the max, thinking more is always better.
But the guide warns against that. It points out things like water retention, acne breakouts, even lower back problems, which could signal your liver or kidneys are under stress.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with your organs.
Definitely not. The message here is clear. Go slow, be patient, prioritize safety over those rapid gains.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. And there's this example in the guide. This guy jumps headfirst into a crazy OTT cycle and ends up with such bad acne, he almost ends up in the hospital.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. Plus other nasty side effects, even needed surgery because of estrogen issues.
Yikes. That's a cautionary tale right there.
And the author contrasts that with their own approach, which focused on moderate gains with fewer complications. It really shows you how important it is to understand what you're doing and not just blindly follow the more is better mantra.
Right, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your health.
Okay, so let's talk age. The guide have a lot to say about age and steroid use.
Yeah, it's a big factor. Hormones change as we get older.
Right. For younger guys, the guide recommends waiting until after 18. And ideally having like 1 or 2 years of solid, consistent training under your belt.
Let your body mature naturally first.
Exactly. The reasoning is pretty straightforward.
Hmm.
Younger guys are already producing a lot of testosterone naturally. Adding more hormones from the outside can mess with your body's own production.
It's like overloading the system.
Yeah. But then the guide takes a different perspective for older guys.
Interesting. What's the take there?
It suggests that steroids, for older individuals, can be a way to replace those declining testosterone levels. And it's not necessarily about building huge muscles, but more about improving your overall quality of life.
Oh, I see. Like hormone replacement therapy.
Exactly. The guide mentions some pretty appealing benefits for older users like increased sex drive, better muscle mass, more energy, and even improved cholesterol levels.
Sounds tempting. Anything else?
Yeah, it even mentions a connection between low testosterone in older men and a higher risk of heart attacks.
Wow, that's serious.
Right, so it's not just about vanity, it's about health too.
So, what are some signs of low testosterone that older guys should watch out for?
Good question. The guide lists a bunch. Constant tiredness, low energy, feeling blah, no real interest in things, erectile dysfunction, lack of motivation at work, feeling sleepy after meals, sadness, irritability, unexplained weight gain. It's a pretty extensive list.
It's like a checklist for a midlife crisis.
Uh-huh. Yeah, kind of. And it even explains why it might be harder to lose fat as you get older.
Oh, I've definitely noticed that.
Right. It has to do with testosterone levels and how they affect fat cell receptors.
Interesting. Explain that a bit more.
Well, you've got these things called alpha receptors, which block fat release, and beta receptors, which help release it. The idea is that lower testosterone throws off that balance, making it harder to shed fat. So it's not just calories in, calories out. Hormones play a role too.
So it's like a tug of war between those receptors.
Exactly. Now, here's something else the guide points out. There's a difference between doctor-prescribed testosterone replacement and the dosages typically used in bodybuilding.
Makes sense. Different goals, different approaches.
Right. The author actually suggests that the bodybuilding dosages, when used responsibly, can be more effective for both how you feel and how you look.
Interesting. So they're advocating for a more aggressive approach.
Well, not necessarily aggressive, but more tailored to specific goals. So let's say you're a beginner and thinking about getting started. What does the guide say about beginner-friendly steroids and precautions?
Yeah, good question. What's the starting point?
Well, the guide points out that most steroids can be used for a first cycle as long as the dosages are kept low.
Start slow, test the waters.
Exactly. But it also stresses that everyone reacts differently. What works for one person might not work for another. So pay attention to your body, start small, and see how you respond.
It's all about individualization.
Absolutely. And there's this story in the guide. A beginner takes a tiny dose of Dianabol, just 1 tablet a day, and has a full-blown panic attack.
Wow, that's surprising. Just from 1 tablet.
Yeah, the author thinks it's mostly psychological, like preconceived notions and not doing enough research.
So mindset plays a big role too.
Definitely. It's not just about the physical effects, it's the mental game too.
Makes sense. You got to be prepared.
Right. So the guide outlines a specific cycle 1, a basic 6-week cycle using oral Dianabol only.
Okay, a beginner cycle. What's the protocol?
It recommends taking it with meals to avoid stomach problems and splitting the daily dose in half. It also suggests adding Nolvadex from the 2nd week onwards.
Interesting. And what does Nolvadex do?
It helps to mitigate some potential side effects like estrogen-related issues.
Ah, okay.
But here's the crucial point. Even steroids considered safe can be harmful if you ignore safety guidelines and dosage limits. Don't go overboard just because it's a common beginner steroid.
Right. Caution and moderation are key.
Now, beyond that initial cycle, the guide gives a glimpse into how you might progress.
So, like, what comes next?
It mentions cycle 3, which involves injectable primobolan and Winstrol over 8 weeks. The focus is on lean muscle gains and maintaining muscle while dieting for a harder physique.
Okay, so that's more for cutting and getting lean.
Exactly. Then there's cycle 4, a 6-week cycle with Winstrol and Viramone, a form of testosterone.
I see.
The guide highlights that it's less androgenic, meaning fewer of those male characteristic side effects, and can lead to quicker strength gains.
Interesting. Fewer side effects and faster results. Who wouldn't want that?
Right. But remember, it's all about individual response.
Of course.
Then we have cycle 5, a more classic mass-building cycle with testosterone and enanthate and Deca, plus a Dianabol kickstart for the first 4 weeks.
A classic bulking stack.
Yep, and the author emphasizes that progress should be gradual. Diet, training, and rest are still the most important things, with steroids playing a supporting role.
It's all about balance.
Absolutely. Cycles 6 and 7 are presented as more advanced options, introducing things like Sustanon, Trenbolone, and testosterone propionate.
Okay, so not for beginners.
Definitely not. Those are for more experienced individuals who really know their bodies.
Makes sense. So are there any substances the guide explicitly warns against?
Oh yeah, a couple. DNP, or dinitrophenolic, is a big red flag.
DNP, that's a serious one.
The guide explains that it works as an uncoupling agent, disrupting how your body produces energy at a very basic level.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. It was once a weight loss drug, but was pulled off the market because of severe side effects, including cataracts and even death.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, the author calls it potentially lethal, even unstable, saying it can give off toxic fumes and needs to be shipped in water to prevent explosions.
Yikes.
And even their fairly safe dose mentioned is something they wouldn't touch.
I think I'll steer clear of that one.
Good call. The other one is insulin.
Oh, yeah, insulin. That's tricky stuff.
The guide strongly advises against it for beginners and even for more experienced users unless they have proper guidance.
Yeah, it's not something to mess around with.
The risk of hypoglycemia, which is dangerously low blood sugar, is highlighted as potentially fatal. The guide lists a bunch of symptoms, ranging from mild to severe.
So the risks outweigh the potential benefits in most cases.
Absolutely. Now let's switch gears and talk about HGH, human growth hormone.
Okay, HGH. That's a popular one.
The guide explains that it's produced by the pituitary gland, and it's essential for a lot of things in your body, from tissue repair and muscle growth to brain function and bone strength.
Wow, it does a lot.
It does. And here's the thing. HGH levels naturally decline as you age.
Ah, so that's why it's so popular for anti-aging.
Exactly. The guide gives examples for people in their 20s, 40s, and 80s showing that steady decline.
Interesting.
And the author is quite positive about HGH, particularly for older individuals. They list a bunch of potential benefits, like improvements in sex drive, more muscle mass, better sleep, higher energy levels, healthier blood pressure, and cholesterol.
Keep going. I'm liking this list.
Fat loss, hair regrowth, improved mood, and even younger-looking skin.
Sounds like a miracle drug.
Uh-huh. Well, not quite, but it definitely has its appeal.
So what about dosage? How much HGH should a beginner consider?
The guide suggests starting with low, consistent doses. It uses the example of 10 U vials, recommending you divide them and take about 2.5 IU every other or third day, mainly as a booster alongside low-dose steroids.
Okay, so it's about finding that sweet spot.
Exactly. Now let's get into some practical considerations. One thing the guide stresses is that information about steroids can become outdated quickly because of counterfeiting and the fact that product strength can vary a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Quality control is a big issue.
The guide points out that the amount of steroid listed on a product might not be accurate, and those counterfeiters are getting smarter. It mentions products that suddenly seem much stronger, but it's probably just a marketing ploy.
Sneaky.
Yeah, and getting your hands on these substances can be risky too. The guide warns about online sources where scams are common.
Oh, yeah. The internet is a minefield for that stuff.
It describes this tactic where sellers send small orders quickly to gain your trust, then disappear with your money when you place bigger orders.
Classic bait and switch.
Exactly. So be cautious, don't get too comfortable with new suppliers, and don't share your credit card info with shady websites.
Good advice.
The guide mentions there are blacklists of scammer websites, but those can be manipulated too. So always do your research, be vigilant.
Buyer beware.
Absolutely. Now for those using injectable steroids, the guide offers a simplified walkthrough on how to do it safely.
Okay, important stuff.
Cleanliness is paramount. It outlines the best injection sites: glutes, thighs, deltoids.
My classic spots.
It lists the equipment you'll need: syringes, needles, vial breakers, alcohol swabs. It even gives tips on warming the oil to make it easier to draw and inject.
Makes sense. Less painful that way.
Yeah. It explains how to draw the medication, switch needles, inject, aspirate to avoid veins, massage the area afterwards, and dispose of needles safely.
It's like a step-by-step guide.
Exactly. And here's something the guide really hammers home. Diet is crucial.
Ah, diet, the foundation of it all.
It actually calls it the most important factor for bodybuilding success, even more so than supplements or lifting heavy weights.
You are what you eat.
The big secret, according to the guide, is eating regular, high-protein, moderate-carb, low-fat meals at consistent intervals.
No magic bullet, just consistency.
Right. It uses this analogy of building a wall with bricks.
Yeah.
Without enough bricks, the protein, you can't build the wall or your muscles, no matter how hard you train.
I like that. Makes it easy to understand.
It recommends eating every 3 hours, if possible, and using protein shakes when you can't have a solid meal.
So meal timing and frequency are important.
Very. And it even provides example diet plans for weight loss and mass building, with specific foods and timings.
Cool. A practical roadmap.
Exactly. The Chris Report 2 update section gives a real-world example, describing a successful bulking and cutting phase.
So putting theory into practice.
Yep. And it emphasizes avoiding those really harsh substances and using HGH strategically.
Smart.
When it comes to training, the guide stresses the importance of using different training systems and keeping a training diary.
Track your progress. Make adjustments.
Right. It provides sample training schedules for home and commercial gyms, covering total body workouts, split routines, and pump-focused workouts.
So something for everyone.
It goes into detail describing specific exercises and how to do them correctly. Bench press, dumbbell exercises, cable exercises, leg exercises, arm exercises, even ab exercises.
A comprehensive guide to building muscle.
Yep. For cardio, if fat loss is your goal, it emphasizes sustained heart rate over those short, intense bursts.
Keep it steady.
Right. It suggests doing cardio before breakfast and recommends things like treadmill walking and bag training.
Oh, bag training, that's a good one.
And even gives examples of how long your rounds and rest periods should be. And the Mass Diets by Chris Hart section breaks down his daily food intake during a high-calorie bulking phase.
Wow, must be a lot of food.
It is. Finally, the guide has a glossary of bodybuilding terms. We've picked out a few key ones that might be helpful.
Okay, let's hear them.
17A steroids are oral steroids that have been modified to survive your digestive system and liver. The anabolic androgenic ratio tells you the balance between muscle building and male characteristic side effects. A beta agonist acts like adrenaline and can aid fat loss. Catabolic is the opposite of anabolic, referring to muscle breakdown. A compound movement works multiple muscle groups at once.
Those are good to know.
Dihydrotestosterone, or DHT, is a hormone linked to testosterone that's associated with things like hair loss. Dinitrophenol, or DNP, is that dangerous substance we talked about. HTPA is your body's natural system for controlling testosterone production. Isometric means your muscles are working, but you're not moving a weight. IU stands for international units, used to measure things like HGH and insulin. A multi-vial is a larger bottle with multiple doses.
Okay, makes sense.
Pyramid is a way of organizing your sets, changing weight or reps. A steroid stack is using multiple steroids together. Synergism is when substances work together for a greater effect. And the Wilks formula compares strength between lifters of different weights.
Wow, that's a lot of terms.
It is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, a few key messages stand out. The guide emphasizes safety, gradual progression, building a foundation of natural training, and prioritizing diet.
The essentials.
Right. It also highlights the risks of substances like DNP and insulin and those extreme OTT cycles.
Safety first.
Absolutely. It advocates for informed decisions, knowing your body and understanding both the benefits and the risks.
Be smart, be responsible.
Exactly. This deep dive has been your shortcut to understanding this guide, its main ideas and recommendations. We encourage you to dig deeper, learn more, and think critically about what you've heard.
Do your own research. Make informed choices.
Here's something to ponder. Maybe the most powerful performance enhancer isn't the substance, but understanding your body and being committed to consistent, smart training and nutrition.
Food for thought.
Thanks for exploring this with us on the Deep Dive.
See you next time.